The neighbors always said a man lives two lives, the one everyone sees, and the one he hides carefully behind tired smiles. But on the night Ethan Hale carried his drunken boss out of a collapsing argument at a bar while rain hammered the pavement like warning drums, his two lives collided so violently that nothing would ever return to quiet again. And if he'd known that saving her would unravel secrets, heal wounds he never knew she carried, and challenge the walls he'd spent years rebuilding, he still wouldn't have turned away. Because some moments choose you, whether you're ready or not. Ethan gripped the steering wheel with one hand and steadied his swaying boss, Claire Rowan, with the other as he helped her into the passenger seat. She was usually the definition of control, flawless in the boardroom, sharp-tongued when angered, and impossibly composed even during crises. But tonight, her mascara ran like spilled ink and her voice slurred as her shoulders trembled beneath the weight she had tried so hard to hide. "You shouldn't help me," she murmured, her eyes glassy with tears she tried to blink away. People always want something when they help. Ethan didn't argue, he simply buckled her in with the quiet patience of a man who had spent years taking care of someone fragile. He drove her home in a gentle silence, unaware that tomorrow she would not pretend to forget any of it. Tomorrow, she would remember everything and choose courage over shame. The next morning, the bakery's warm scent of rising bread wrapped around Ethan as he worked the counter. He loved the shop, it was small, humble, and the only place where his mind could rest even for a moment. Being a single father didn't leave room for breaks. Most mornings were a blur of packing Lily's school bag, smoothing her hair, and ensuring she ate something before he rushed them both out the door. He rarely slept through the night. He rarely breathed without worry. But he kept going because Lily, 8 years old, bright-eyed, and wiser than she should be, deserved everything he could give. He didn't expect Claire to walk into the bakery wearing the same composed expression she carried into corporate meetings. Yet her gaze searched until it found him, soft but determined. "Ethan," she said quietly, "not Mr. Hale, not excuse me, but Ethan." His stomach tightened with a nervous flutter he didn't allow himself to name. She stepped closer and lowered her voice. "Thank you for last night. I remember everything. No embarrassment. No excuses. Just honesty, raw and brave." When she asked if they could talk, Ethan nodded, feeling the world shift beneath him. He didn't know that this conversation would be the beginning of unraveling both of their pasts, revealing wounds neither had spoken aloud in years. Ethan wiped the countertop nervously while Claire sat across from him during a lull. Without the armor she wore at work, she looked younger, more fragile, more human. "I wasn't supposed to break down last night," she whispered. "I don't let myself. I can't. My father used to say emotions were weaknesses, so I stopped showing them." She stared at her hands. "But when those men cornered me outside the bar, and I felt everything collapsing, you showed up. Like you knew how to catch someone falling." Ethan's throat tightened. "I helped because you needed help," he said quietly. "Not because I wanted anything." Claire gave a soft, broken smile, like she hadn't heard sincerity from anyone in a long time. For the first time since he had met her, she asked about his life. Not in a boss's calculated way, but in a person's curious, gentle way. Ethan told her about Lily, about juggling 2 jobs, about the years since his ex walked away. Claire didn't recoil or pity him, she listened with a softened gaze that made Ethan feel seen, maybe for the first time in years. When she touched his hand lightly before leaving, he felt a warmth that stayed long after she walked out the door. That evening, Lily stared at him after dinner and said, "Daddy, why are you smiling funny?" He didn't argue. Days passed, and Claire began stopping by the bakery more often. She brought coffee for him, little gifts for Lily, stickers, colored pencils, a tiny cat-shaped eraser that Lily immediately loved. Sometimes Claire sat quietly reading while Ethan worked. Other times she let herself laugh, the sound surprisingly warm. Once, after a harsh phone call outside, she slipped back in with her eyes red. Ethan didn't press, he simply stood beside her until she steadied. She admitted she had spent years stacking success on top of success to drown out loneliness. "I keep people at a distance," she said softly. "But with you, it feels easier to breathe." Their bond grew naturally, quietly. But life never stayed that gentle for long. Ethan's ex suddenly reappeared, demanding to see Lily, insisting she had changed. She pushed blame, stirred old guilt, and cornered Ethan in front of the bakery one afternoon. Claire stepped outside just in time to witness the argument. She didn't interfere, she simply remained present, eyes filled with worry as Ethan tried to speak calmly while anger and fear knotted inside him. After the ex stormed off, Claire moved closer and whispered, "You don't have to go through that alone." Her voice broke something inside him, something he had held together with stubbornness and silence. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to let someone hold him while he took a shaky breath that felt like breaking and healing all at once. In return, Claire opened pieces of her own past she had never shared. Her childhood filled with pressure, a father who punished emotion, a mother who left, a lifetime of pretending she wasn't lonely. Ethan didn't judge her walls, he simply stayed beside them. She had never known quiet comfort before him. He had never known gentle support before her. As custody discussions stirred more stress, Claire stood with Ethan not as a boss but as someone who cared deeply. She visited Lily often, helped her with drawings and homework, listened to her chatter. Lily adored her. One afternoon, Lily pressed a drawing into Claire's hands, 3 stick figures: Ethan, Claire, and Lily, holding hands under a bright yellow sun. Claire stared at it too long, blinking through a sudden shimmer of emotion. One evening after closing, Ethan found Claire standing near the counter, watching him dust flour off his apron. "You changed something in me," she whispered. "That night at the bar, you didn't judge me. You didn't take advantage. You just cared. And I don't want to pretend I forgot that. Not for a single day." Ethan stepped closer, heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope swirling like storms and sunlight all at once. "Whatever this becomes," he said softly, "we don't need to rush it. But I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." Claire exhaled, a trembling breath that sounded like letting go of a lifetime of loneliness. Outside, the night was quiet. Inside, the air felt warm with possibilities neither dared to name yet, but they didn't have to. Some beginnings don't need labels, they just need courage. Their story didn't end with declarations. It ended with steps, slow ones, gentle ones, taken together by a single father learning he deserved love, a woman discovering she was capable of it, and a little girl who sensed 2 hearts healing and simply smiled because it felt right.